Taking risk go after what you want is necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to start today with a simple but powerful question. What is holding you back from chasing after the things that truly matter to you? The things that stir your heart, that ignite your soul but seem just out of reach. We've all been there, afraid, uncertain, and sometimes paralyzed by the thought of failure. But let me tell you something, risk is not your enemy. In fact, it's your greatest ally. Risk is a necessary ally if you want to achieve anything significant in life. Too often, we hear people talking about success as though it's something that just happens. We idolize those who seem to have it all figured out, the ones who appear to be living their dreams effortlessly. But the truth is, every person who has achieved something extraordinary has had to face risk head-on. Risk isn't an option. It's an essential part of the journey. Without it, we would never leave our comfort zones. And without leaving those zones, we'd never grow or reach new heights. When we talk about risk, most people think of it in terms of danger or failure. But that's only part of the equation. Risk is not about being reckless or throwing caution to the wind. It's about the willingness to step into the unknown, to take the path that others may not be willing to take because they're too afraid of failure or rejection. Risk is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to uncover new possibilities. It's the choice to move forward when the future seems unclear, and when the world around you questions your ability to succeed. Think of risk as a bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's the gap that separates your current reality from your future potential. The challenge is that the bridge is often shaky and the other side isn't always visible. In those moments, it's easy to turn back, to let fear and doubt rule our actions. But the reality is that risk is often what unlocks the next stage in our lives. It's the moment you take that first step into the unknown that the opportunities you've been waiting for begin to unfold. Taking risks doesn't mean you will always succeed. In fact, more often than not, taking risks means facing failure, disappointment, and setbacks. But the risk is not in failing, the risk is in not trying at all. Because without taking risks, you guarantee that you'll never experience the thrill of success, the satisfaction of knowing you push yourself beyond your limits, and the deep fulfillment that comes with having given it your all. Success is not just about reaching the finish line, it's about the process of growing, learning, and improving along the way. And none of that is possible without taking risks. You might be thinking, but what if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? These are the questions that hold us back, that make us second guess ourselves, that create hesitation in our hearts. But here's the truth, failure is not the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen is never trying, never reaching beyond what you already know, and living a life dictated by the fear of the unknown. Failure is temporary. It's a teacher. It shows us what doesn't work so that we can adjust, try again, and move closer to our goals. But if you never take the first step, you'll never know how close you were to success. Consider the entrepreneurs, the leaders, and the innovators who've changed the world. Every one of them took risks. They didn't know for sure that their ideas would work or that they'd become successful, but they believed in their vision enough to step out and face the risks that came with it. They knew that without taking that initial risk, they would remain stuck. They took risks because they understood that the potential rewards far outweighed the temporary comfort or uncertainty they might face along the way. It's the same for each of us. Whether your dream is to build a business, write a book, pursue a new career, or change the world in some way, risk is part of the equation. It's not a hindrance, it's a necessary part of the process. Each step you take toward your goal, each risk you embrace, builds the foundation for your future success. And while the road may be difficult and full of obstacles, it's the risks you take along the way that will ultimately shape who you are and what you achieve. Embracing uncertainty is one of the most powerful things you can do in your life. It's easy to crave security, to want to know exactly what will happen and when. We live in a world that thrives on predictability, where plans are made, schedules are kept, and outcomes are expected. But the reality is the most significant and transformative moments in life come not from knowing every detail in advance, but from stepping forward in the face of uncertainty. When we embrace the unknown, we open ourselves to opportunities, growth, and experiences that would never come if we stayed comfortable and secure. Uncertainty is a natural part of life, yet so many of us try to avoid it. We hold on to what we know, what's familiar, and what feels safe, because the unknown brings with it a sense of fear and vulnerability. But the truth is, you can't achieve anything meaningful without embracing that discomfort. Uncertainty is a signal that you are on the verge of growth. It's the space where creativity thrives, where new ideas are born, and where we learn more about ourselves than we ever thought possible. When we cling to certainty, we box ourselves in. We limit our potential, and in doing so, we miss out on the possibilities that are just beyond our grasp. It's easy to want everything mapped out, clear steps, a step-by-step plan that guarantees success. But that's not how life works. Life doesn't come with a manual. And most of the time, we don't have a roadmap to guide us. This is where uncertainty plays a role. Instead of seeing it as something to fear, start viewing it as an invitation to discover. The unknown is where all the magic happens. It's where you get to experiment, try things, and fail without the weight of perfectionism hanging over you. There is no growth without uncertainty. Think of every moment of change in your life, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, or a new challenge, and how that uncertainty pushed you to become better, stronger, and more resilient. When you decide to step into the unknown, you might not know where you'll end up, and you might not be sure of the outcome. But that's okay. The beauty of uncertainty is that it forces you to be present. It teaches you to trust the process and to understand that the path to success isn't always linear. It's full of twists and turns, and sometimes it's only when you look back that you realize how far you've come. By embracing uncertainty, you also begin to embrace the unpredictable nature of life, and you learn to trust in yourself more. You learn that you are capable of navigating whatever comes your way. The uncertainty surrounding any new endeavor is a reflection of the possibility that lies ahead. Think about how many new beginnings have started with that moment of not knowing whether it was a career change, starting a business, moving to a new place, or embarking on a personal journey. That uncertainty doesn't have to paralyze you. It can propel you forward. When you lean into it, when you take those first steps into the unknown, you open yourself to all that you can achieve, even if you don't have a clear picture of what that looks like yet. Some of the most successful people in history, those who have changed the world, have embraced uncertainty as an integral part of their journey. They didn't have guarantees. They didn't know for sure what the outcome would be. But they moved forward regardless. They took risks because they understood that without stepping into the unknown, they would remain stagnant. Their willingness to embrace uncertainty, to act even when the future wasn't clear, was what ultimately propelled them to greatness. You don't need to have all the answers before you begin. In fact, it's often better not to. Life has a way of unfolding in ways you can't predict. And sometimes it's only by embracing the uncertainty that you find the true path to success. It's about trusting that, even if you don't have a crystal clear vision of the future, each step you take will bring you closer to the person you're meant to be and the life you're meant to lead. Uncertainty is not a barrier, it's an invitation to grow, to explore, and to believe in the journey, even when the destination is unclear. Failure is often seen as a negative, something to be avoided at all costs. We are conditioned to fear it, to see it as an indicator of our shortcomings, and to view it as an obstacle that should be prevented or hidden. But in reality, failure is one of the most powerful tools for growth, learning, and ultimate success. Failure is not the end of the road, it's simply part of the journey. It's a lesson that shows us what doesn't work, teaching us how to adjust and move forward with greater wisdom and strength. When you take risks and venture into the unknown, failure is almost inevitable. No one can avoid it forever. Whether you're trying something new, pursuing a dream, or putting yourself out there in a way that feels vulnerable, you will face setbacks. You might stumble, you might fall, and you might feel like you failed. But that doesn't mean you've reached a dead end. In fact, failure is often the beginning of something much greater than what you originally envisioned. It's through failure that you discover resilience, grit, and the ability to keep going despite the obstacles in your path. The fear of failure keeps so many people stuck. They worry about the judgment of others, about looking foolish, or about not being good enough. This fear can paralyze us, keeping us from taking that first step or from pushing forward after a setback. But think about this, the fear of failure is far more limiting than failure itself. The longer you stay stuck in the fear of failure, the more you rob yourself of the opportunity to learn, grow, and move closer to your goals. Failure, when viewed as a lesson, is not something to run from. It's something to embrace. One of the most important things to understand about failure is that it's temporary. It might feel like the end in the moment, but with time, it's simply a chapter in the story of your life. Every failure brings with it the possibility of a new beginning. When you fail, you learn something about yourself. You gain new insights, new perspectives, and new strategies for success. Failure forces you to reassess, to refine your approach, and to come back stronger. It's through this process of trial and error that we grow as individuals and as achievers. It's not the failure itself that defines us, it's how we respond to it that shapes our future. If you take a look at some of the most successful people in history, you'll see that failure is a recurring theme in their stories. Thomas Edison, when asked about his many unsuccessful attempts to invent the light bulb, famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His ability to view failure as part of the process allowed him to push forward, eventually leading to his monumental success. The same can be said for countless others, people who failed time and time again, but kept going, learning and refining their approach until they finally achieved their goals. Failure doesn't mean you are incapable or that you should give up. It simply means that you have learned something new, that you are closer to finding the right path. In fact, some of the most successful people failed more times than most of us could imagine. They didn't give up, and they didn't let failure define them. They used failure as fuel to keep going, to keep innovating, and to keep trying until they succeeded. It's through that perseverance that success is born. Each time you fail, you have the opportunity to reset, to rethink, and to re-strategize. This is where the real power lies. The ability to bounce back, to not let failure break you, but to use it as a stepping stone to greater success is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who never reach them. Failure isn't an obstacle, it's an opportunity to improve, to learn more about yourself, and to gain the experience necessary to reach your dreams. The more you fail, the more you grow, and the more prepared you become to face the challenges that lie ahead. Failure is not a dead end, it's a stepping stone to success. That the idea of settling for less is something that many people fall into without even realizing it. We become accustomed to the way things are, to the comfort of familiarity, and sometimes we allow ourselves to believe that what we have is good enough. But here's the truth, settling for less is one of the biggest obstacles to living a truly fulfilled life. When you settle, you close the door to your potential, to your dreams, and to the limitless possibilities that could be waiting for you just beyond your comfort zone. Settling often happens when we are afraid of change, when we are unwilling to take risks or to step into the unknown. It's easy to fall into a routine, to get stuck in a job, a relationship, or a situation that no longer serves us, simply because it feels safer than making a change. The problem with this is that by choosing the path of least resistance, we deny ourselves the chance to pursue what we truly want. We allow fear to dictate our decisions, and in doing so, we limit our own potential. The more we settle, the more we tell ourselves that we are not worthy of more, of better, or of greater things. To truly live a life of purpose and passion, we must challenge ourselves to go after what we want, not what is merely comfortable or convenient. This doesn't mean that we should throw everything away or make reckless decisions, but it does mean that we should refuse to settle for mediocrity. Settling is about living within the boundaries that others set for you or that you set for yourself based on fear or self-doubt. But the moment you stop settling, the moment you refuse to accept what is easy or comfortable, is the moment you start to break free from limitations. When you go after what you truly want, you're saying, I believe I am capable of more. I believe I deserve more. It's a declaration of self-worth and belief in your ability to achieve your dreams, even if it means stepping into uncertainty or facing challenges along the way. This doesn't always come easy. In fact, it's often uncomfortable. But that discomfort is where growth happens. It's where your dreams are realized, where your true potential is unlocked, and where you discover just how capable you really are. Settling is not only about where you are, it's also about what you allow yourself to believe. If you settle for less, you are limiting your expectations of yourself and of what's possible. But when you choose not to settle, you set your sights higher. You begin to believe that you can achieve things that others might think are impossible. This shift in mindset is crucial to creating the life you desire. The moment you refuse to settle is the moment you take control of your own destiny, no longer letting fear or doubt determine your path. Going after what you want requires courage. It requires the strength to push past the barriers that keep you stuck in a place of complacency and comfort. And that courage doesn't have to be big and bold right away. It can start with small steps, small actions that challenge you to move forward, to make changes, and to embrace the discomfort of growth. Over time, these small steps build momentum, and before you know it, you're no longer the person who is willing to settle. You've transformed into someone who actively pursues what you want with confidence and determination. The fear of the unknown, the fear of failure, and the fear of rejection all come into play when we consider moving away from what's familiar. But remember, it's these very fears that keep you from achieving what you truly want. They are the walls that keep you confined to a life that is less than what you deserve. But the moment you decide not to settle, you start to tear down those walls. You start to break free from the limitations that have held you back, and you step into a world where anything is possible. It's time to stop accepting what's good enough and start aiming for what truly excites you. Settling for less is not the answer. Refuse to let fear, doubt, or the comfort of familiarity hold you back. Embrace the challenges, take the risks, and go after what you truly want. It's not about being perfect or having everything figured out, but about refusing to stay stuck. When you go after what you want, you reclaim your power, and you begin to create the life that is truly meant for you. Pushing beyond your limitations is one of the most transformative things you can do in life. It's easy to stay within the boundaries of what feels comfortable and familiar. After all, we're often taught that it's safer to stick with what we know and avoid anything that might challenge us. But here's the truth: growth only happens when we step outside of those limits. It's when we push past our comfort zones that we truly discover what we're capable of. The limitations we believe we have are often self-imposed. They are mental barriers, fears, and doubts that hold us back from reaching our full potential. Everyone has limits, but the important thing to realize is that these limits are not fixed. They can be expanded, reshaped, and redefined. Often we place these limits on ourselves because of fear, uncertainty, or past experiences. We tell ourselves that we can't do something because it seems too difficult, too risky, or too beyond our current abilities. But when we choose to face those fears and push through them, we find that the limits we've placed on ourselves are not nearly as rigid as we thought. To push beyond your limitations, you first need to recognize that they are not permanent. They are simply barriers that your mind has created based on past experiences, self-doubt, and fear of failure. But none of those things are set in stone. In fact, they can be broken down. The first step to doing so is acknowledging them and deciding that they don't define you. Once you begin to believe that you can move beyond these perceived limitations, you start to see new opportunities. You start to realize that what you thought was impossible is actually within your reach. The process of pushing beyond your limitations requires courage and resilience. It means stepping into discomfort and facing the challenges that come with trying something new or tackling a difficult task. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question whether you're capable or whether it's worth the effort. But it's in those moments when you feel like giving up that true growth happens. It's in those moments of struggle that you discover your strength, your resilience, and your capacity to persevere. One of the most powerful things about pushing beyond your limits is that it often leads to a shift in your mindset. When you challenge yourself, you begin to see what's possible rather than what's not. You start to see the potential for success, for growth, and for new opportunities rather than focusing on what could go wrong. This shift in perspective is crucial because it transforms the way you approach challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as insurmountable, you start to view them as opportunities to learn, to adapt, and to grow. The more you push beyond your limitations, the more you begin to see yourself as someone who is capable of achieving great things, no matter how big the challenge may seem. Pushing beyond your limitations also helps you develop a sense of resilience that is essential for long-term success. Life will always present challenges and things won't always go as planned. But by consistently pushing yourself past your limits, you build the mental and emotional strength needed to weather the storms. You learn how to recover from setbacks, how to adapt to changes, and how to keep moving forward even when the path ahead isn't clear. This resilience is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who give up too soon. Another benefit of pushing beyond your limitations is that it helps you discover new aspects of yourself. As you challenge yourself, you uncover hidden talents, strengths, and abilities that you might not have known existed. Each time you push beyond what you thought was possible, you learn something new about yourself. You might surprise yourself with your own capabilities, and that newfound knowledge can be a powerful motivator for future endeavors. The more you expand your boundaries, the more you realize that there's no limit to what you can accomplish. It's important to remember that pushing beyond your limitations isn't about perfection. It's not about succeeding every time or always getting things right. It's about growth, progress, and learning. Every time you challenge yourself, you are expanding your capacity to achieve more, to be more, and to do more. When you push past your comfort zone, you make space for new experiences, new opportunities, and new ways of thinking. This is the key to living a life without limits, a life where you are constantly growing, evolving, and becoming the best version of yourself. Courage is one of the most powerful tools you can possess on your journey to success. It's the force that propels you forward when everything around you seems uncertain. It's the ability to take that first step when the path ahead is unclear. The strength to keep going when things get tough, and the conviction to believe in yourself even when others doubt you. Courage doesn't come from the absence of fear. It comes from the willingness to face fear head on and move through it, knowing that it's part of the process, not a barrier. When you set out to achieve something meaningful, you will undoubtedly face moments of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. All of these are natural responses when you take risks and strive for something greater than what you've already achieved. But courage is what allows you to push through that fear and take action anyway. It's the inner strength that gives you the fortitude to keep going, even when your mind is filled with doubts and your heart is racing. It's understanding that fear is a part of growth, and it's a necessary companion on the journey to success. Courage is not about being fearless. In fact, true courage exists precisely because fear exists. It's the ability to move forward in the face of fear, to trust that despite the uncertainty, you are capable of handling whatever comes your way. Courage is the decision to move despite the doubts, to keep going despite the obstacles, and to persist even when the road seems too difficult. The more you lean into your courage, the more you realize that fear has far less power over you than you thought. You start to see fear as something that can be managed and moved through, rather than something that will stop you from moving forward. One of the key elements of courage is belief. Belief in yourself and in your ability to achieve your goals is essential. Without belief, courage can falter and fear can take over. But when you have the courage to believe that you can succeed, that you have the strength to overcome challenges, and that you are capable of achieving great things, fear begins to lose its grip on you. Belief in yourself is the foundation of courage because it gives you the confidence to take risks and face challenges head on, knowing that you are prepared for whatever comes next. Courage also means embracing vulnerability. It means putting yourself out there even when you don't have all the answers, even when you're unsure of how things will turn out. It's the willingness to try, to fail, and to learn from those failures, knowing that each experience brings you closer to your goals. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, but in reality, it is one of the most courageous things you can do. It takes immense strength to allow yourself to be seen, to take the leap, and to risk everything for the chance to achieve something great. When you embrace vulnerability, you not only open the door to growth, but you also allow others to see your humanity and relate to your journey. Courage doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. Often the most courageous actions are the small, everyday decisions to keep going. It's the courage to get out of bed when you're feeling overwhelmed, the courage to speak up when you're afraid of what others might think, and the courage to try again when you've failed. These moments of courage may seem insignificant, but they add up. They compound over time. And it's through these seemingly small acts that you build the foundation for greater achievements. Courage is contagious. When you show courage in your actions, when you take risks and pursue your dreams despite the fear, you inspire those around you to do the same. Courage creates a ripple effect. When people see you taking bold steps, facing challenges head on and pushing through your fears, they start to believe that they too can do the same. In this way, courage doesn't just help you succeed, it helps others succeed as well. It builds a community of support, empowerment, and growth that benefits everyone. Courage is essential because it is the starting point of every great achievement. Without courage, we would remain stagnant, afraid to take the first step towards something greater. Courage is what keeps us moving forward, even in the face of adversity. It gives us the strength to break free from our limitations, to embrace the unknown, and to keep going despite the obstacles in our path. Every successful person has faced fear, but it's their courage to push through it that has allowed them to achieve greatness.